Thank you for attending our presentation on understanding the role and effectiveness of alumni connections on experiential learning. I'm Cynthia Bansak, Professor of Economics at St. Lawrence University.
I'm Shuwei Zhang, an Assistant Professor of Economics at St. Lawrence University.
Today we'll be discussing what is part of a joint project hosted at St. Lawrence University. In this study, we're focusing on some key questions. First, we're looking to see how you can tie experiential learning in the classroom to alumni through alumni connections. Second, we're talking about how we do that in a class that we teach called the College Fed Challenge and what activities we use that link it to alumni through experiential learning. The third thing that we're going to report is how our St. Lawrence University students, alumni, and hosts feel about the experience. We've designed a Qualtrics survey and we'll present some of our statistical responses and analysis. And lastly, where do we go from here to be more effective instructors? While on net we found this to be a positive experience, we will talk about where we will be going in the future. Okay, so there have been numerous studies, as we're well aware, that document the benefits of experiential learning. They talk about examples where you can have hands-on activities and exercises in the classroom and outside the classroom. What you see here is the top of our syllabus from a course that we teach, where we focus on a very specific form of experiential learning, where we are connecting with alumni in a course that's a semester-long class in economics, where students are preparing for the College Fed Challenge competition. This occurs in the United States in the fall of each year, and it's sponsored by the Federal Reserve System. And in this competition, students prepare a 15-minute presentation, a formal presentation where they make a forecast, they give a monetary policy recommendation, and they talk about economic conditions to a panel of judges. This is also followed by a 15-minute question and answer session that also involves being judged and where the questions they do not know ahead of time. So in order to prepare, we have them connect with alumni through St. Lawrence University. And overall, the class, as you can see at the end, there is an opportunity for students to develop skills, professional skills, knowledge of data, learn about software, making charts and presentations, and also practicing their oral communication skills. Different schools take different approaches to setting up teams. Here you see photos for 4 of our past teams, and we focus, as we're talking about today, on making these alumni connections where students visit physically and also virtually with the host. They practice their presentations, they practice their Q&A, and the bottom left there is from 2018, where we visited New York City several times, and in that photo we're with an alumni host in New York City of a financial institution. Here's a list of our alumni hosts. They are quite vast and they've varied year by year. But as I mentioned before, the students give a mock presentation to their alumni hosts where they get feedback immediately. They go back and reflect. They also have the opportunity to practice the question and answer portion of the Fed Challenge competition. And we feel that these follow the experiential learning model designed by Kolb. Here you can see the 4 different components where there's the concrete experience. They go and they deliver their mock presentation, or they do the question answer. They reflect on how it went. They go back and edit and revise their work in progress, and then they go back and experiment and practice again. So we do feel like these different activities that they perform when they connect with the alumni are part of this experiential learning model, and that it does make a big difference. And the students themselves recognize this. And so I think what's important here is this is an example of a blog post from one of our former students where he makes the connections to alumni. And in the title here, you can see he makes the connection that the competitive advantage of St. Lawrence's alumni network is what has pushed the team to do very well in the past. So it's nice to see that the students recognize this as well. And so that's why we decided to conduct a survey where we can collect more concrete evidence from the former students, some of the hosts, and some SLU alum in general. And I'm going to turn over the presentation now to Shuwei Zhang, who will talk about the Qualtrics survey and some of our results.
All right, now let's turn to the methods and subjects. So in this paper, Qualtrics was employed to create and distribute our survey in order to evaluate the success of alumni connections in the Fed Challenge class. So in our survey, the sample includes St. Lawrence University's current students, alumni, and guests and visitors who participated in the class. So the survey flow is shown in this figure. So as we can see that for alumni and current students, they are further categorized into different groups. So for current students, we have students who enrolled in the class and who were not enrolled in the class. And for alumni, we have 4 different groups who only hosted the Fat Challenge class, who only enrolled the Fat Challenge class, who both enrolled and hosted the Fat Challenge class, and who neither hosted nor enrolled the Fat Challenge class. And then we have the statistical evidence collected from the survey. So here, this figure 2 shows us the respondents' identity and their connections to the Fat Challenge class. So we can see that most of our current responses are collected from those alumni who once enrolled in the Fat Challenge class. And then in this figure 3, we can also see that most of the respondents, especially alumni, they work in the finance and financial service industry, which is one of the most important fields for economic students on the job market, and also which is a key area we get students to study in the Fat Challenge class. And also from figures 3b, we can see that most of the respondents, they believe that the Fat Challenge class is extremely or somewhat related to their current job position. And here, this figure 4, and the upper panel shows us that there are over a half of respondents, they feel strongly connected to St. Lawrence University. And also we can see many of them, they feel somewhat connected. So an interesting related question is whether alumni interactions contributed to career success for our graduates. So the answer can be found in the lower panel. There are almost 72% respondents who strongly agree that alumni interactions contributed to their career success. So overall, from our survey results, and we find a strong connection between our alumni and the university. So here, this figure 5 shows us how those respondents value each atom in connecting alumni to the university. So as we can see, the top 3 highest counts, so they are for organized talks, reunions, homecoming events, and the Laurentian connection. So the Laurentian connection is focused on enhancing networking and mentorship opportunities for alumni, parents, and students. All right, so from figure 6, and we can see that those are different ways of interacting with alumni in the Fat Challenge class. So we can see that the most popular way of interacting with alumni is via Zoom, Skype, email, phone. But also we can see that all 3 other activities, they have a significant representation in the total counts. So if we combine this figure 6 and also the previous figure 5, we believe that inviting alumni to give talks via Zoom or some other communication technology is what we should strive for in the future. So this can also be applied to other classes. And then as shown in figure 7, we can see that the majority of respondents, they strongly agree that alumni connections prepare them for the job market, improved their interest, and made them more comfortable with reaching out to alumni. So the most interesting finding from this figure is probably that alumni connections are not a primary reason respondents took the Fat Challenge class. So this implies that we should raise students' awareness of alumni connections when recruiting more candidates for the future Fat Challenge class. And then turning to this figure 8, which is about evaluating experience of taking the Fat Challenge class, we do see a strong positive feedback from respondents who took the class before. So most of them agree or strongly agree that the Fat Challenge class was intellectually challenging. In particular, they stated that the class fostered teamwork and critical thinking, encouraged real-life applications, and emphasized connections with industry professionals. So, and then from the lower panel, we do see that most of alumni showed some degree of willingness to host or visit the class in the future. And a similar question was also given to respondents who hosted the class to ask how likely would you host or visit the Fat Challenge class again. So the results are displayed in the lower panel of this figure 9. It's exciting to see that all hosts or guests would like to host or visit the class again. And we believe that this is closely related to our students' performance in the class. So we do see that from the upper panel, so most of the guests and hosts reported a very positive reflection on our students' performance in the Fat Challenge class. And here, this figure 10 lists activities respondents recommended to add to SLU's alumni website. So as we can see, the most desired offering, and which is 33%, is for an alumni mentoring database. And also, meanwhile, from figure 11, we can see that over half of the respondents were very satisfied with their overall experience with the St. Lawrence University college education. And also, we have some open-ended evidence. I will give it back to Cynthia.
Great. So we also, after asking these earlier questions, gave the respondents an opportunity to give us open-ended answers to the question, please provide additional actionable feedback related to experiential or cooperative learning. So give us some feedback on how experiential learning was for you at St. Lawrence. Most of the respondents were Fed Challenge alums as well. And we put together some of the different responses in these groupings. The first group of responses were when respondents recognized the connections that they were making between economic theory and job-related tasks. And so you can see there's some samples here where people were able to relate the concepts to the real world, concepts from the class to the real world. The second group had to deal with the connections that they made to individuals, where they felt that these alumni connections helped them in terms of mentorship, giving them advice for grad school, and also helped them during interviews and setting them apart from other individuals and other alums from St. Lawrence. And then the last is skill building. Respondents also recognize that by having this, the alumni connections and this experiential learning opportunity, that they were able to build other skills that we mentioned in the syllabus itself on enhancing critical thinking, practicing oral communication skills. And the last quote here said that it was really helpful to them to be able to present in front of audiences that weren't their peers, weren't others at St. Lawrence, but that they got out of St. Lawrence and were able to present in front of people in industry. Okay, so in conclusion, we did find one of the key results is that 3/4 of respondents agree that the alumni connections did make a difference and made a difference in their career success. And these are alumni interactions that they had in class. Second, the alumni were happy with the experience as well, the hosts. They found the students were well prepared and that they would like to host the students again, so that there was a positive experience on both sides. We did find that the skills that they were set out to gain in the course were enhanced, such as teamwork, critical thinking, applying the theory to real world applications, and that they were making these connections with industry professionals. Going forward, though, we do plan to expand upon these positive connections, and we'll continue with this area of research.
All right, so in the future, we will continue sending our survey to more subjects in order to increase our sample size. And also, next step, we're going to send a survey to those St. Lawrence University students who didn't take the Fat Challenge class in order to compare educational satisfaction to see if the students, they feel more satisfied with the education after they take the Fat Challenge class. And what's more, we're going to use this group of students as a control group in order to do some econometric analysis. So for example, we will run some regression in order to see by how much the university alumni connections improve study or career success for St. Lawrence University students. All right, so this is everything for our presentation and talk, and we welcome any question. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.